Welcome back. We're with Simon Mullock from the Sunday Mirror, and alongside Simon, author and broadcasting legend Fred Eyre. Don't forget, if you want to get involved, drop us a line with your point of view today at channelm.co.uk. Ian, what's the response to United?
We've had some United emails, yeah. Noel from Stretford End says, let's win our next 11 games and we could win the Premier League. It's not gone past us just yet. And Lee from Haywood saying, over the course of the season, I believe that the little bit of quality we lost in Ronaldo and Tevez, which has not been replaced by Valencia, Obertan and Owen, will prove costly. I'm not trying to rewrite history, as they didn't want us to sign Tevez. He isn't worth the 30 million. However, he's a damn sight better than Owen, who is washed up. So, not too positive, really. The first one probably was, in saying that he thinks they're capable of winning the next 11 games. But perhaps that is a point, you know, that it could catch up with United, the fact that they didn't, you know, effectively replace Ronaldo and Tevez.
I'm trying to get my head around the notion, Fred, that a little bit of quality costs you 80 million quid these days.
They did describe it as little, didn't they?
Fred Bolton, Owen Coyle came with a fanfare because of his history with the club, but it could be a very dodgy end to the season unless they put a couple of results together.
Yeah,
they were well beaten this weekend, weren't they?
They were. He did come with a fanfare, but out of the last 51 points available to him, he's only taken 12. So I'm not quite sure whether that fanfare was totally justified, but it will be if he keeps Bolton up and they finish mid-table. So he's got a bit of a job on his hands.
He'd settle for fourth bottom right now, wouldn't he, and start again for next season?
Certainly the way when you're on that sort of a cycle, you know, it's on the downward spiral. There's not a lot to grab hold of.
Now, I'll come back to you in a second on Wigan, because I know you've got history with the club. But, Simon, I watched that game with interest, and I always think offside's not the easiest call to make, because you've got two things you're trying to keep tabs on. But there are bad offside decisions, and there are bobbins offside decisions.
Well, sometimes, even when you see the replay and you can see it's clearly offside, you can forgive the linesman and say, well, you can understand why he's missed that. But the Defoe goal yesterday, I'd love to know why the linesman didn't spot Defoe was, 5 yards offside, 4 yards offside. It was clear. I just could not understand what he saw.
Sometimes, though, Fred, Martinez hinted at it yesterday, that sometimes when you're at the bottom end of that and you're playing against one of the bigger clubs, that decisions go against you that wouldn't necessarily go the other way. Do you subscribe to that theory?
I do, but that's simply because when you're struggling, you're spending most of your time in your own penalty area, and that's when the decisions go against you. And so it looks more, because by virtue of the fact that you are struggling means you're defending all the time. But, you know, the old story is that they even themselves up over the course of the season. So let's hope they nick one at the other end, but not when they come to the city of Manchester Stadium.
Now, Ian, sometimes those older ones, you know, you hear us banging on about the baseball ground, and you don't know what we're talking about.
I know what the baseball ground is, don't worry.
But Wigan yesterday, if you imagine that with a shallow end, that was the baseball ground. It was one dog of a pitch, wasn't it?
Oh, it was an awful pitch. I mean, Fred, the type of football that Roberto Martinez is trying to play at Wigan as well, a lot of the time, a team to the sort of the lower end of the table against a team to the upper end of the table, you'd think that a bad pitch would favour the lower team, but in Wigan's case, it's not that isn't the case, because they like to play football on the floor, and they've got some very talented players who can dribble the ball and that side of it as well.
Be interesting to see whether he might bite the bullet and force himself to abandon his principles for the last section of the season, and due to the pitch, and abandon that sort of football and start missing the midfield out just as a means to an end. But if he sticks to it and continues to play, I hope he plays his way out of it, because I'd like the purist to triumph in the end.
But they have said that they are going to relay it, so hopefully that means that he can continue in playing this expansive football.
But it's the rugby, you know, you can relay it as many times as you like, but you know, if you've got all these athletes, rugby men and footballers on it all week, every week, it's going to suffer again.
We'll have to compromise, Fred. The beautiful game, but with a scrum half. So, Simon, you know that he's been at every club in the whole world. One of his former clubs is Stockport, and they won their first game since, I think it was October the 12th. But they're gone, aren't they? They're going down, Stockport.
Well, they are going down, but great for the fans, and particularly the fans who went down to see the game. Long way to travel. So it was good to see. Good to see them get 3 points.
192 fans, we've just heard in my ear.
Well, if you think of the season we had, Fred, that is a great tribute to the fans that did make that trip, isn't it? Now, do you know Gary Ablett? You know everybody else?
Yeah, well, he's not one of me. Yeah, I know him, yeah.
Because everybody at the club speaks so highly of him. You think if they can get through the short-term problems, he could, learning what he will have learned from this experience, start to build something exciting again there, or at least you'd hope so.
And he's intelligent as well. You know, he comes across great.
He does.
He's the type that you want to succeed. Apart from the club, we want them to succeed. But people like Gary Ablett, we want them in the game, not out of the game, because they set such a good example. And so for that reason alone, and all my pals at Stockport, you know, Craig Madden, the coach, you just don't want this to be happening to Stockport County.
I mean, how sad has it been, sort of obviously being linked with the club in the past and seeing sort of the demise over the last couple of seasons, especially?
Well, it's been painful because it's been like a slow death, really. Because you know, if you're looking reasonably closely, you can sort of see one or two of these things happening before they actually do.
Yeah.
And it gives you no pleasure when a month or two down the line, what you feared, you know, comes to fruition. And as I say, when you've got such a lot of affinity towards the people there, it makes it doubly hard to bear.
Well, I can remember coming over to see you and Killer at Stockport.
Yeah.
And it's only not that long ago,
No.
and the place was absolutely buzzing, Fred. Well, it's just a pleasure to be there.
I know, well, it's like a lot of things. I'll include Andy Kilner in that. I'll include Brendan Elwood in that. You know, sometimes people don't realise what they've got until it's gone. And, you know, the fans must just wish for those times to be back again.
Talking about what you've got till it's gone, there's a story on Channel M today about possibly losing one of the tapestry of our local football clubs. Tell us about that, Ian.
Yeah, well, one of the oldest clubs in the region, actually, Ashton United. There's been a court case ongoing, I know people will be aware of it, and they've been ruled against now, so they have to pay compensation to one of their... well, it was an Altrincham player, a tackle that one of their ex-players made. We've got pictures here of it. It's ended the player's career. It's £32,000, the compensation, which when you add the legal costs onto that, it's going to end up costing Ashton United over £100,000, which will effectively put the club out of business.
It's sad though, Fred, and you understand from the lad's point of view why compensation should be paid, but to lose Ashton United, because I do really believe that clubs at all stages of the food chain are a part of the overall picture.
This is so sad, because it could be one of life's imponderables. I mean, it's only a couple of months ago that I did a dinner to raise money for Ashton United, which wasn't to be handed over to somebody else. So I was actually raising money for them not long ago. By the same token, I've known the player, Marcus Hallows, since he was a little boy. He's the son of Paul Hallows, Bolton Wanderers full-back. And he is not one of life's chances. He is a real good lad. I work with him now, in fact. He's an Elvis impersonator, believe it or not. And he's very, very good, and he's a great lad. He's from a great family, and he suffered excruciating injuries. A broken leg's bad enough, but his was a broken leg and some, you know what I mean? You know, Ashton United are now suffering for a tackle, which was one of their players, who's now playing somewhere else. I'm not sure it's
Retford
now. Yeah. And really, you can hardly blame them, really, Ashton United. But by the same token, you certainly can't blame Marcus Hallows. And it's such a strange situation. That's why these things go to arbitration, go to court. That's why these judges get paid enormous amounts of money to make these decisions. It's not a decision that I would have liked to have made, because I can see both sides of it so clearly. And I must stress again, Marcus Hallows is not somebody who just wants to grab a few quid. He has gone through murders. Now,
Simon, I know you spend most of your time covering Premier League football, but are you a fan of all levels of football? It would be sad to see a club go out of business.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, the worrying thing in this case is I was reading quotes from the Ashton chairman saying that the tackle wasn't a reckless tackle, it wasn't a dangerous tackle. The referee didn't even give a free kick. And obviously the damage was terrible, but you wonder if judges are making or ordering payments like that for tackles that weren't deemed reckless at the time, then what about tackles that were dangerous, tackles that were, leg breakers, basically?
last word goes to you. It is sad.
It is sad, and I think something that was said in the court case was that football wasn't a contact sport. Well, I think it is a contact sport, and unfortunately these type of things happen, and if it means that a club goes out of business, then I think something should be done along the way that can save the club, but also give the lad compensation as well.
Many, many thanks to Fred Eyre and to Simon Bullock and to Ian, of course. Ian and myself will be back same time next time on Channel M Today. And, of course, we always invite your comments as well. We'll be sorting the football world out same time next week.